And as I look back over the last 150 years, I would say this is up there with the 3 or 4 biggest mistakes that we could have made as a country. The 2 others, just to set them in the right kind of context, the 2 biggest mistakes we made as a country in the century and a half before this were not granting self-government to Ireland in the late 19th century, which was a catastrophic mistake, which we're still recovering from today, and which in our generation, and indeed in the lives of many of those who are here today, was terrorism on the streets of London. I live by Regent's Park. Every day I pass the bandstand when I go on my walk first thing in the morning in Regent's Park, which has a plaque to the 12 Royal Green Jackets who were killed when a bomb exploded in the middle of the afternoon concert on a Saturday afternoon. By the IRA, that is a direct consequence of us not getting policy on Ireland right in the 19th century. And we had an opportunity under Gladstone to create a self-governing Ireland within the United Kingdom. And if we'd done it then, we wouldn't have had all these terrible consequences which blighted so much of the 20th century. We got that wrong. The other big mistake we got wrong, catastrophic mistake, was going into the First World War, which everybody thought would be one of those short wars that would be over by Christmas, and ended up as a massive conflagration, which then caused the Second World War, and what was essentially a civil war in Europe for 30 years. Now,
so let me just pause you there, because you talk about the fundamental issues. But Francis and I both voted Remain on the referendum. But isn't the fundamental issue here democracy? You know, I grew up in Russia, in the Soviet Union, where we didn't have it. And when I see a vote that went through, I didn't vote to leave, but most people did. Isn't the fundamental issue here respecting the wishes of the people, even if, as you say, and I may take or I may not, some people think that it will be damaging to their constituents. But have we not had a parliament that actually doesn't represent the wishes of the people?
Well, the people can't betray the people. That is a fundamental principle of democracy. And democracy is not about one vote at one moment and then no votes ever again. That is, generally speaking, how
But I'm not saying I'm opposed to the second vote. What I'm saying is we need to implement the results of the first one.
No, but that is the answer to your point. The answer to your point is this whole business of Brexit is itself a process. When we had the referendum 3.5 years ago, people couldn't know what Brexit would mean, not because they were stupid or because they were ill-informed, but because there was no proposal on the table. The only proposal for Brexit on the table 3.5 years ago was 4 words on the ballot paper: leave the European Union. There was no plan behind it. There was no agreement even amongst the people in favour of Brexit as to what it should mean. Some thought it was compatible with staying in the single market and the customs union, including the Prime Minister at the moment, who said so in the referendum campaign. Other people said that we should leave. Some people said that we would maintain freedom of movement, which is fundamental to the whole concept of the European Union, whether people can travel freely across borders or not. Other people said that we couldn't. As that has come to be worked through, and as it has remained deeply controversial within our democracy, the right thing to do was, as I still believe we will, to hold a further referendum.
Shouldn't the questions on that then be, given that we voted to leave, either we leave on the withdrawal agreement that Boris Johnson's negotiated, or we leave with no deal, and those should be the 2 options?
Well, obviously not, because the majority of people, according to opinion surveys, and the majority of MPs are actually in favour of staying in the European Union.
But we had the first referendum already.
No, but again, we couldn't judge staying in the European Union against a specific deal, whereas this time we can, and the right thing to do. I mean, why would you want to constrain the options you're putting to people when there's by far the most popular option out there is one that's absolutely credible, which is staying in the European Union? So I completely agree with you that this is a fundamental democratic principle. The fundamental difference between the European Union and the Soviet Union, which you referred to, is one is a democracy and one is not. You know, when I always forget all these foreign secretaries, they come and go so fast. There was one called Hunt, wasn't there, recently, who's now sort of receded into the distance. When he, in trying to curry favour at a Conservative Party conference, likened the European Union to the Soviet Union, Donald Tusk, the president of the European Union, who was a solidarity activist in the 1980s against the Soviet Union, made the fundamental point that there is a difference between an empire and a democracy. And it's because the European Union is a democracy that it's proved to be, it's a club of democracies. It's 28 democracies, it's a club of them. It's because it's proved to be so viable and so successful that we should be staying in it and not leaving it.